everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills Housing Update. So I've got some good news and some bad news for the market this week. So looking at this week's numbers, Georgetown only had 8 sales, which I would say is sort of the bad news piece of this week. The sales definitely were not as high as we saw last week where we had 13 sales, and we just really need that number to start picking up a little bit. We had 15 new listings, which is a lot of new listings, but again, down from the 30 that we saw last week. So the inventory didn't do the same kind of climb, so that is positive. We definitely need to see sales start picking up here. I don't know what needs to be done, but like, oh my gosh, like we just need some buyers to like really be ramping up here. In Acton this week, there was 4 sales, which is a good week for Acton, and 5 new listings. Glen Williams saw 1 sale and thankfully no new listings. The rural market saw 1 sale, but 4 new listings. The rural market is just like the poor rural market right now. Another notable thing is that we are still seeing the far majority of products selling under that million mark. So over $1 million is definitely a struggle to move right now. We had 10 of the 15 properties that sold this week under $1 million. So 66% of the listings that sold were under $1 million, and that has been true for the last while. And so if you're over that $1 million, it's still saturated. There's still a ton to choose from. And looking at properties that terminated, relisted, so we did have 13 properties that relisted at a lower price, but the good news is that we had 8 properties come off the market. This number always helps us to keep our inventory levels lower. Without this, we would have seen a pretty big jump in inventory this week, but seeing 8 properties off the market, it helped to keep things kind of stable. So looking at active inventory, we went from 255 last week to 257, which is a much more reasonable number in terms of like the difference week to week. It will be interesting to see if, you know, which of the trends still continue. Are we starting to see properties coming off the market? Are we starting to see sales slow down? Are we starting to see inventory continue to spike? I'm really curious to see how the next few weeks go, because this week was sort of an in-between. Georgetown this week is only up slightly also from 146 to 148 active listings. Still quite high in Georgetown, not kind of near our peak, but we are getting close. Looking at the price points, under 800,000 is down slightly from 25 to 24 active listings. 800 to $1 million took a jump from 35 to 42. We know that that pocket moves though, so hopefully that stuff kind of filters through. And 1 to 1.5 million actually dropped from 64 to 61 active listings, and 1.5 million plus also dropped from 22 down to 21 active listings. So a lot of the stuff that we saw terminate were in our higher price points. Again, not a lot happening for the sellers there. So I think if you don't need to be on the market, a lot of them are pulling their properties off or thinking about it. It's a terrible time to be selling your house. There's no way around it. So, you know, seeing those numbers in the higher price points being the ones that we're seeing terminated make a lot of sense. Acton this week remained the same at 32 active listings, but that is a very high number for Acton, a ton of available properties there. Glen Williams actually dropped from 10 to 8 active listings, and the rural market climbed. Here we are, from 67 to 69 active listings, and this is officially tied for our highest inventory I've ever seen in our rural market. We probably will get over 70 at the pace we're going at in the rural market, which is just crazy. Another thing is there's only, of those 70, only 2 of them are sold conditional. Like there's not a lot of stuff going on rural. So I think this week could have been a lot worse. I think that if we had another week like last week, we'd be pushing really close to our like all-time high on inventory. But without sales really picking up, we just are going to continue to be in a bit of a situation in this market. And it's just going to cause our pricing to continue to come down. So it will be interesting to see how the rest of June goes. I know of a lot of coming soons and a lot of stuff in the pipeline. I do think our inventory is going to climb through June. I'm hoping it's just not going to be at the pace that we saw last week. So time will tell. So I will be back next week. Have a great week, everyone.